The next philosopher that we are going to stop at and take a look at his views really very briefly is a philosopher from Germany known as Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, or Leibniz. And Leibniz responded, that is, Descartes started, I know certain things just by reason. I just introspect. I know that I exist, and I can prove that God exists, and God wouldn't be a deceiver. So that's why I can trust my senses. Locke responds to him, and I'm now putting things in an historical order. Locke's response is, no, that's not right. There is nothing innate. Our knowledge is simply built on experience. There's nothing that we know other than what we've learned through experience. The only way we can know about real things that exist in the external world is by experience. Well, Leibniz, while he's willing to accept that there's nothing in the mind other than what's gained through experience, according to him, knowledge, when he's looking at knowledge, nothing is in the mind without being first in the senses. He agrees with Locke, except for the mind itself. That is, there is some nature, there's some innate principles, there are some principles that are built into the mind that help you in gaining knowledge. And that's why he too follows in the rationalist perspective. With regard to the mind-body problem, like his predecessor Descartes, but not Spinoza, he thinks that mind and body are two different kinds of entities. So he is a dualist. However, he happened to have also been a scientist, and he couldn't quite understand how mental and physical events, bodily events, could cause each other. So he said the reason that we see these two things as causing one another is that there is a series of events, mental events, and there's a series of events, physical events, including our bodily events, and they all got started through a whole causal series that was set up by God, and things move along in parallel. Very unique view, interesting view. We will examine it a little bit when we get to the mind-body problem. But with regard to God, even though Leibniz was a diplomat, he was a diplomat by profession, not a theologian. He had certain beliefs about God, and he thought that God's the perfect being, so the world he created, this one, has to be the best of all possible worlds. And with regard to philosophy of religion, there's something we're going to find out about problem of evil, that people worry, how could God exist if there's so much evil in the world? Well, Leibniz's claim is they're not inconsistent because evil in the world is due to God's creating humans that have free will. And if humans have free will, God can control them. So those are some of the interesting views that Leibniz had on the philosophical problems that we're going to be looking at. The other thing to mention, I mentioned he's a scientist, but for those of you who are lovers of mathematics, there's a subject in mathematics called calculus, and people understand there were actually two inventors. One of the inventors of calculus was Leibniz, and the other one was Sir Isaac Newton. So having now gone through that end, we now see that we've covered the continental rationalists, and we get an idea of why these guys are considered rationalists. What are some of the key doctrines to rationalism? And we'll be examining them as we look at certainly as we look at epistemology.